It's been amazing to work with Patrick and Halle. They're two actors who have really elevated what was already two very, very interesting characters on the page, and they've made them so much more. I think what Patrick brings to Brian is this feeling, especially early on in the film, although he does have a redemptive arc as well. You get a sense of the pain that he's carrying around. You get a sense that his demons are banging at the door 24/7. And although he turns into a hero, he's always a reluctant hero. And I think that that's something that is a very fine balance to play. Somebody that he's kind of forced to adopt the role of the hero when he doesn't feel qualified and he doesn't feel really capable of doing it. And I think that Patrick is an actor that's so committed to making every single second credible and believable and psychologically valid. Halle as Fowler, she manages to do something that's also very tricky, and it takes a very unique screen presence to do it, where she marries two sides of this character that feel almost completely contradictory. Like these two sides of a character shouldn't exist as successfully together, because on one hand she's very commanding, she takes no bullshit, she's a badass, and she's a commander, and she's in charge, and she's very powerful. And on the other hand, she has this softness and this kindness and a gentleness to her when you see her with a family, where you see her sharing these tender moments with Brian. And sometimes Halle is able to play those two sides of this character simultaneously, not go backwards and forwards between the two. You always believe that she's commanding, and you always believe that she's tender. And it takes somebody with an incredible aptitude for the craft to be able to pull that off, I think. The great thing about working with Roland is that it's always inspiring to work with somebody who's an absolute master of what they do. In terms of the disaster movie, he's done other movies, he shouldn't just be defined by his work on disaster movies, but in terms of the disaster movie genre, he's not only perfected a lot of those motifs, he created a lot of those motifs. And it's such a game raiser to work with somebody whose instincts for these things are so exactly on point. And you know, if you can't get Roland Emmerich to direct your disaster movie, get someone who can copy Roland Emmerich to direct your disaster movie. And so we know that in terms of the visuals, in terms of the suspense, all of the devices that he uses to create this disaster movie narrative, we know that any input that we have on that is redundant, really. But what he does do, he creates a very collaborative atmosphere when it comes to actors and their characters, because he wants to make sure that all of these characters are as rich as possible.